Scott Bauer, the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy, is joining us this morning. Scott, thanks for taking the time to be with us. I want to begin with the U.S. dollar, the bulls. Good morning, Scott, and how they've gone from the mantra that the little engine that could used to say, they've gone from I think I can, I think I can to I thought it could.
Yeah, that's pretty spot on right now. But, I don't think you can count it out just yet.
Okay.
However, this thing is in a bit of a bear market, if you want to call it that, at least in a very micro time frame. This is the longest 12 or 14-day losing streak we've seen in over a year now. It is making lower highs and some lower lows. So technically, the dollar could be under some weakness. I don't think we're going to get down to those lows that we saw in July, around 95.5 or so. But, you look at how the dollar is trading, and really it's trading with the risk-on, risk-off sentiment of the overall market.
Yeah, sure seems to be. Scott, let's talk about how the dollar took out the August low, but the euro is yet to take out the August high. I'd imagine this is really a reflection of how the strong British pound, the sterling, has been weighing on the greenback.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that could all change over the next week when we, finally get to see what happens with Brexit. You and I have talked, over the last several weeks and months and about this situation. And I've thought this entire time that we're going to get an extension in Brexit, which still may happen. However, there is definitely more optimism now than there ever has been, which has sustained this current rally in the pound.
Yeah, and it's not just the pound, Scott. I mean, we've seen the euro currency, the Mexican peso, the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. Even the Swiss franc is getting a little bit of a lift. All of these have been coming off recent lows. The dollar's been coming off recent highs. I'd imagine this is tied back to what you mentioned before in terms of some of the trade, the on and off again kind of rhetoric that we've been hearing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, you specifically mentioned the Swiss franc, which that has had a nice rally. Now it's a little bit off, off its highs as overall risk sentiment in the marketplace has really shifted over the last week. But, yeah, you've really seen some rally in some of those currencies as the dollar has sold off.
Yeah. Let's talk, Scott, about Canadian elections. We saw a very muted reaction, but if up today, that's going to be 8 of the last 9 to the upside for the loonie. We were just talking about some of the other currencies, the Aussie, the Mexican peso. Canadian dollar's been getting a nice lift as well.
It has been really coming off some lows, and I think the marketplace, the unexpected is gone.
Okay.
Right? We always talk about the market doesn't like not to know what's happening. Now that the election's over, Trudeau's back in place. Okay, some of those nerves are gone. I think that is really what's behind the rally here, and it's probably very justified.
Yeah, well, that's in our rearview mirror, Scott. Down the road ahead on the horizon, we still have Mario Draghi this week as he looks over his last central bank meeting. Any expectations for some last-ditch types of heroics from Mario Draghi? I mean, prior to him kind of handing over the reins here to Christine Lagarde.
Yeah, probably not. I think he really wants to go out on a high note, go out on a very positive note. I'm sure that he will reinforce that had the ECB not interacted, not done what they've done, they'd be in much worse shape than they are right now. We've got a big QE program that's starting in November. I think it's 20 billion euros a month. There definitely is some question about that because the ECB board is very divided on QE, on stimulus, on what they should do. And, Christine Lagarde's going to have to deal with that. However, this week should be more of a, let's call it a celebratory goodbye to Mario Draghi than anything else.
Yeah, it's going to be curious to see what his legacy is as he's headed out. I mean, many chalk it up to his ability to keep the Eurozone together amidst a lot of turmoil and some uncertainty, and not only in terms of economic conditions, but also we touched on the Brexit situation, the impact that's had. Scott, one more question for you, I guess. The last question remains, is this the end of a multi-year run that the dollar's had? The hierarchy, the run, has it run its course basically until we get some movement at least to the upside in terms of rates or some sort of indication that the dovish tendencies that we've seen are shifting?
I don't think it's the end of the run yet. I still think that the market is very, very susceptible to volatility and to risk on and off sentiment. So I don't think it's the end yet. However, like I mentioned earlier, technically, Ben, you have to look at these lower lows and lower highs that the dollar's put in over the last month or so, that should be concern for dollar bulls.
All right, well, we'll continue to watch price activity. Scott, really appreciate you joining us here this morning to help us take a look at some of the activity we've seen in the dollar and some of the other currencies that we watch closely. Traders, that's Scott Bauer, the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy.